The Apple TV Plus service recently had its 5-year anniversary. So on this episode of the Macworld Podcast, we're talking about Apple's foray into the entertainment streaming industry. What has the experience been? What can we expect in the future? And of course, what are our favorite shows? It's all in this episode, so stay tuned. Welcome to the Macworld Podcast. I'm Roman Loyola, here with Jason Cross.
Good morning.
And Michael Simon.
Hello, sir.
On November 1st, 2019, Apple launched Apple TV Plus, its video streaming service. We weren't able to cover Apple TV Plus on November 1st of this year because Apple decided to release a bunch of new Macs at that time. So we weren't able to do our 5-year birthday coverage of Apple TV Plus a month ago. But, now that it's winter here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're spending more time indoors and watching TV. So we thought we'd talk about Apple TV Plus as it enters
watch
its 6th
TV
year.
all year long, Roman.
All right.
Yeah.
They didn't. It's kind of weird that, not weird, but it's got a little bit of a missed opportunity that Apple didn't do something for the 5th anniversary of it. Like they didn't even market around it or anything. Like,
that kind of it's one of the reasons why I want to talk about TV Plus. It's sort of Apple's approach to it. It's always been somewhat under the radar, kind of, in terms of compared to Netflix and Max and and even YouTube. It's there. People kind of know about it because of shows, not because of the services. Some people know about Netflix and the shows, whereas people know about shows that are on Apple TV. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think part of it's that branding problem of Apple names everything just Apple generic item. It doesn't have its own name, and it shares a name with a hardware product that not a lot of people buy. Right. It's Apple TV is a hardware thing, and then there's Apple TV Plus, which is a service which is not only on the Apple TV hardware thing. It's on all kinds of things. It's so there was kind of like a branding problem. They needed to give it a name, like a real name.
It's a funny thing because it's the only streaming service that has a direct delivery system to 1 billion people. So it should be
built in,
extraordinarily popular, but it's not.
Well, it also has no free tier and isn't it? It's weird because it's the cheapest streaming service for what you get, but it doesn't have any kind of cheap tier, right? Like there's no, it has one tier. It's got family sharing. It's got 4K. It's got, download episodes. It's got all the perks that you normally have to pay for the highest tier of some other competing service for. But there's no I don't want any family sharing and I only want 1080p and blah, blah, blah. There's none of that at half the price like what other people do. So,
and that's similar to what they do with Apple Music, where there's no free tier. It's $10 a month or $11 a month. And it's a great service. But if you're a Spotify free customer and you don't mind listening to ads, you don't mind having shuffle, you don't mind, the playlist thing, Apple doesn't offer that, and they won't. That's their thing. They believe in offering that premium tier, and, that's it. But as Jason said, that premium tier costs $23 a month on Netflix. It's only $10 a month on Apple. It's absurd. It's way cheaper. Way cheaper.
I mean, everybody's been raising their prices, but even so, it's cheaper than Max. It's cheaper than everything. It's cheaper than YouTube. But it's so I think that's part of it. It's because what do you call it? It's Apple TV. But if you don't know Apple, you don't know the thing. So. Yeah, I think that's part of the issue. But the other part of the issue is that I think Apple doesn't know how to market services. It's exceptional at marketing hardware. It understands that we have new hardware coming out. There's a launch. We buy ad campaigns around it. We buy ads. Continuous content services like Apple Arcade or any of these other, they don't understand that you need to invent events for them and have special sales and do marketing around them that involves other, quoting like the greatest whatever ever, like the little pull quotes from reviewers and stuff like that. Like it doesn't do any of that stuff. And that's how you market those things. That's how you see things on, Steam, for example, which is a digital marketplace for games, has multiple sales a year. They're in the middle of an autumn sale now where they discount a whole bunch of games. They work together with all the games developers, discount a bunch of games, and they market around it. They have they don't do traditional advertising, but when you load up Steam, there's like a whole big graphical page and all this stuff, and they push all these things, and Apple just doesn't do any of that. It just releases content. And it's kind of like that for Apple Music. They're getting there. Like they started to do Apple Music Awards. They started to do podcast awards, but they don't make a big deal about it. It's these little private affairs. It needs to be I need to be able to turn on my Apple TV, load my Apple TV app, and watch the Apple Podcast Awards, where people go on stage in a crowded auditorium and accept their award, right? Like market these things, make it an event. So they don't build events around their content servicers. And I think that's part of the reason people don't understand.
And they don't even make like the release of a big show like a big deal, with the exception of Ted Lasso. But other shows that are just as compelling and packed with stars and are in their third season, like they come and they go without much fanfare, like Silo or Morning Show or whatever. These are established titles, established series. They have fans. They have a built-in audience. They're still making series, so they must have an audience, but they don't really market that like they do.
It's not enough to release a trailer. I need to be watching some other show on some other network. Yeah. And
like
just
when a Disney Plus show comes, I know. Right. Even if I don't want to watch it, I know it's coming. I've seen it somewhere. I've seen a trailer. I've seen a tweet. I've seen whatever it is. But Apple doesn't really do that.
Or to put it in Apple terms, like if I'm watching any other channel on TV, I'm going to see an iPhone ad when there's a new iPhone out. And I'm going to see a new iPad ad when they release a new iPad. But when the new season of Severance comes out, I'm not going to see commercials for it. So they need to ramp up their sort of awareness game. That said, it is starting to, it's been 5 years, which isn't a lot of time. I mean, compared to these other brands that have been around forever and have a big catalog. And it is starting to build popularity. People are aware of it. People are starting to watch these shows. They're certainly winning lots of awards. Yeah. So,
I mean, honestly, if you took the Apple TV Plus catalog and put it on Netflix, it would be huge. Half the shows would be runaway hits all over social media. People talking about them. That's our business. We're on social media a lot to look for what's happening. I never see anybody talking about Apple TV Plus shows ever.
Yeah, and you have to kind of go look for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever a new season of one of my favorite shows on Apple TV comes up, and then I don't hear any buzz about it, and or get surprised when I see a review or something like that, I get a little disappointed because I'm like, I wish people would hear more about this particular show.
I want to talk about Mythic Quest online with other people.
Yeah.
And like there are times when I'll like a show that I watch, like for example, Shrinking just came back,
which is
awesome. Was 4 episodes in. It's fantastic, but it was 4 episodes in before I remembered that it was there. I don't habitually go to the Apple TV Plus section to see what's new. And there's such little like exposure outside of that app that you can just miss a whole season, can go by and be like, oh, look at that. It's all here now.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic show. If that was on Netflix, it would be like the #1 show with a bullet. It is awesome.
Yeah.
We don't really know how much money Apple TV Plus brings in because Apple doesn't separate.
Yeah. All we know is, quote, services goes up every quarter.
Yeah, it goes up every quarter. And I had made the assumption for a while there that what was boosting that revenue was Apple TV Plus. But, after we decided that we're going to talk about Apple TV Plus on the podcast, I was like, maybe it's not. I don't know. But then what would be boosting us? I mean, this is a different discussion, but
yeah, I mean, Apple Music goes up, its subscriber count goes up a little all the time.
The biggest thing is in-app purchases for apps that aren't made by Apple. That's, I believe, the biggest chunk of that services.
Is that
revenue.
all called services?
Yeah, it's all. Yeah. It's all App Store revenue. I think that is probably 60% of it. I think Apple TV Plus is a nice, it'll be what, 5 or so. Apple Music will be, about the same. I mean, it's $11 a month for everyone. Mm-hmm. Apple Music probably has 50 to 60 million, maybe 100. I don't know. What is it? What does Spotify have? Like 150? So Apple Music probably has
hard to say because
Spotify
has a free tier. And
that's true. But yeah, it's a nice chunk of change that they're getting from both of those as well as the other ones.
The latest number I could see on it was they announced or some metric had 93 million but that was June 2023. So they may have 100 million Apple Music subscribers.
Okay, so there you go.
I know. I don't think they have 100 million Apple TV subscribers.
No, I don't think so.
No. So 5 years into it, one of the things I wish Apple would do is create more content for it. Because sometimes I'll go into it and, I believe that all the shows there are good shows, but I'm not interested in a lot of the shows on there. So I'm not going to watch them. And I wish they would just have, I don't need it to be like Netflix and have Netflix almost feels like overwhelmingly too much.
It is.
Yeah, it is, and a lot of it is just this sort of like unscripted slop. Like there's just so many game shows and reality game shows and dating shows and stuff like that on the world doesn't need to be filled up with a bunch of that.
Right.
I'm glad they don't do that. But to your point, Roman, like you kind of need something new to watch every week. And
there is generally something that's just not like a new something. There'll be like an episode of something.
Oh yeah.
Every week there's something that arrives.
Episodes. But what I mean is they need either a new season, a new show or a new season of a show every week for you. And that means, and since you're not interested in everything and there's kids programming and stuff like that, that means they need to be launching 2 or 3 shows or seasons of shows or movies every week. And they're kind of at about a third of that. Maybe there's usually 1, sometimes 2 new things every week if there's a movie or a kids program. And it just needs to be more. It's just more.
Yeah, it kind of seems like this is what they're going to do. This is the stream that they've settled on, because it's a lot more than it was 5 years ago for sure. But even a couple of years ago, like you can turn on Apple TV every Wednesday and get 2 or 3 new pieces of something. It might be the 5th episode of a season that launched a month and a half ago, but it'll be new. And I don't see them really doubling their efforts here. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if they scaled back a little bit on the production.
The forecast right now looks slim, and that could be because things aren't announced yet. Yep. But there's not much in December. There's a little documentary series about animals called The Secret Lives of Animals, and the latest Wonder Pets. But there's nothing until mid-January when the new season, finally the second season Severance comes out, and then more than one a week.
That'll be a big-ish deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal
when that arrives. Yeah,
COVID definitely COVID and the writer strike definitely was a 1-2 punch in slowing down the growth of Apple TV. They just launched it. They got all these things. They're like, okay, let's get all in production on all our season 2s. And stuff, and then just like bam, everything got delayed, everything got held up. Severance is kind of the poster child for that because it took off. People who saw it were like, wow, what a great show. Got really absorbed in it. They proved the second season before the season was over. They ended it on this big cliffhanger, and then you don't get anything for 2 years. I forgot half of what happened in that show.
And it's not the kind of show that you can quickly recap. Like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I feel like I need to rewatch the whole thing. But
Right.
And that's what they want you to do.
Yeah.
Is there anything about Apple TV Plus besides more content you guys wish it would do? I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head.
This isn't really germane to me, but I'm curious to how people with kids feel it does with kids content, because they definitely have a decent amount, and it's and they have, as with other things, they're not just licensing stuff that you can find everywhere. They're just like, this is on Apple TV Plus and only Plus. They don't have anything that's sort of like a big name,
well, they got the
cultural
Fried
thing that they have.
The Peanuts are the two big ones that they.
Yeah,
two big names.
Things that 50-year-olds remember from their childhood, but that's not what kids today are into. Like they don't have like they're not like the sole place you can get Pokemon or whatever, right? Like they're Dora or something. They didn't buy anything that's like super hot with today's kids. They have a lot of stuff like Sago Mini Friends. What's the other sort of branded thing? Wonder Pets.
They don't have like a Bluey or something like that.
Right. They don't have a Bluey or any of these other kind of things. So they
but
don't have like...
Again, they could. We just don't know, because the reason why those shows become popular because kids watch it and they talk about it and they go to preschool and they say, oh, did you see Bluey and blah, and then they sell the things in the stores, and then like it becomes this cultural. There's nothing on Apple that Apple's not doing anything to kind of foster that with any of these properties.
Like I don't know if anything's I don't know if anything's that good,
right?
Because like I said, I don't watching the kid stuff. But even if it is, like you said, they're not selling merch. They're not in all the kids selling like Bluey shirts and onesies and stuffed animals and all this other stuff. So like, are they doing that with all the Sago Mini Friends stuff? Are they doing that? All the other kid stuff
they need to put in the work. When you see a budget for a Hollywood movie, they say like double it for marketing, because that's what goes into getting people to see these things. Like they don't just organically, not everything is like Deadpool where people know what it is. So you have to put it in front of people's faces every single day for 2 months before it comes out to get them to go to the theater. And it's the same thing with streaming. I mean, Stranger Things is a perfect example. That was a nothing show on Netflix, and it caught fire on Twitter. And then it became a cultural thing because everybody talked about it. They saw it, then they told this person, that person watched it, told this person, and it was all word of mouth. Netflix did not market it as a hit at all. It was just another show. At first.
But they jumped on it.
Nothing going on with Apple like that.
As soon as it blew up, they jumped on,
of course,
doing it.
And then second season was an event, and third season, and so on.
A great example is, why can't I go to apple.com/Ted Lasso and buy all the AFC Richmond merch in the world?
Yeah.
Why is that not there?
Right. Like a soccer jersey. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. They do have Ted Lasso merch, but I believe it's through.
It's not Apple.
Warner.
No.
Right. It's not through Apple.
It's not. Warner. It's not at Target. It's not at Walmart. It's not at the places that people go.
Or even in the Apple stores. Why isn't there just a rack of AFC Richmond jerseys in the Apple store?
Right.
Like there's so much they could be doing that they're just not.
Right.
They're not looking at it that way, and they do the same thing with other services.
And if they did that, like if they did what Jason just said and put a rack of shirts in the store, people would get upset. Like there'd be a group of people that got upset, but that's still people talking about it.
Yeah, who cares?
Like, who cares?
What are you getting upset about? Like their most popular.
But they're talking about
show.
it, and then someone said, "Oh, what's Ted Lasso? What's this thing I just heard about?"
Right.
They see it, they go to it, they watch it, they tell somebody else. That's how this stuff works. And Apple is just really bad at that. And it's funny because they're great at it with everything else.
Right, yeah, that's that kind
Those damn iPhone commercials with Patrick Mahomes, I can't stop seeing them. They're everywhere.
Yeah, when it's a product, they really know how to launch and market a product, and the shows are not getting the same treatment. They don't understand how to take a content product and make physical product around that lets people see and interact with it and be fans of it.
Yeah,
they certainly don't understand fan community that way.
And they do understand that it's not just an Apple product benefit. Like they have it on Samsung TVs, they have the app, they have like it's you can get it anywhere. Apple TV Plus. You don't have to just have an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac, or whatever it is, to use it.
Mhm.
But I'm venture to guess that the viewership on non-Apple devices is close to zero, because I can't imagine anyone on a Samsung device, smart device, going to Apple. Going to the App Store, downloading the Apple TV app, finding Apple TV Plus, logging in, getting the show. There's no way. Viewership on the Apple TV is probably like 80% of Apple TV Plus viewership is probably from the Apple TV box, which is an inherently small number of people.
I don't know. They're one of the built-in default apps on a lot of smart TVs, which I think is how a lot of people watch a lot of stuff. You know, like I think a lot of people just buy a Samsung TV, and when they first turn it on and saw it, it's got Netflix, it's got Max, Prime, and Apple TV. They're on there. They're there on the bar. You probably have to do a software update, but it walks you through all that. I think there's probably a decent number of people who are just watching that one, or they're just watching on. Yeah, through just like their smart TV. Like they didn't have to hunt it down. It was on the bar. It's there. You know. Yeah. That, and like you said, it's on your iPhone. Comes on your iPhone. Yeah. You know, or iPad or whatever.
I'm gonna say I hate watching anything on my iPhone. I know people.
Yeah, I don't watch on my iPhone either. But
yeah, nothing longer than a short,
like a minute
form video. Internationally, I don't know that that's true. There's things like in places like India, Netflix has like a $2.99 subscription for people and stuff, and you know. I think that there's a decent chance that like Netflix is just more popular on an iPhone internationally.
You know, we keep talking about how Apple needs to market it more, but maybe Apple's happy with the way they're marketing it.
Yeah, like I said, we don't know the numbers. I just look at the sort of how it fits into the zeitgeist of community, people online talking about it. And it's not well represented there, no matter how popular it is or isn't. And it seems obvious there's more they could be doing.
I guess my argument is maybe they don't want to do more. I don't, because it's 5 years in now.
I mean, if you're going to create a service and then bring that service to a bunch of different devices, you would think they would want people to watch it.
Yeah.
But we have so much evidence of Apple doing something, and then it kind of just like, I don't want to say flounder, and I don't want to say ignored, but
I mean the product is good. Like there are a ton of good shows on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah,
I said before, you take any one of them and put them on Netflix, and it's their number one show.
Yeah,
like automatically.
Yeah, there's a number of them that would do really well.
Yeah,
on other services. Speaking of which. What have you guys, since all right, we know they're botching the marketing, but what have you guys liked this year that you've watched? Now that we're kind of closing out the 2024.
My favorite Apple TV Plus show this year was, and I haven't watched a ton of them, but Dark Matter was fantastic. It's a sci-fi show. It's about like a multiverse type thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big Marvel MCU fan, and they also have a multiverse storyline going on, and it's in 17 million different directions.
Everything was multiverses this year.
But this one, so watching this made it seem like there's like a way to do multiverse in a way that's compelling and interesting and intelligent and not messy. And it was really, really good. It ended on a somewhat of a cliffhanger, and I don't know if there's going to be more to it.
It has been renewed, yeah.
Oh, it has. Okay, good.
Yep.
So, but it was excellent. We actually watched it. My wife and I actually watched it a second time. So we got up to like whatever was the most recent episode, like episode 6 or something, and then we went back and rewatched it before we got to the finale because there was so many threads and so many storylines and so many like little moments that you missed. It was just fantastic. So that's my number one.
It's based on a book.
Yeah.
And people, it's well regarded. The other one that's sort of really well regarded that's on my list, but I haven't started yet because I haven't had like time to sit down to a 1 hour drama type thing is Silo, which that was kind of like nobody really expected that to be a great show or a big show. And it did. The first season did pretty well. It kind of built up a lot of word of mouth. And then as the second season was coming out, everybody's like, oh my God, I can't wait. Cause they got another thing, ended on a cliffhanger and stuff. So the second season's going and I just kind of, like you said, I bookmarked it and like when I get the time.
Yeah. I haven't watched that either, but that's one of the few things that I've read outside of like the Apple TV Plus app about I know that exists and it's in its second season now. But I haven't seen it either.
I'll tell you what I really enjoyed was Bad Monkey.
Oh, I got to see that. That's on my list. I like Vince Vaughn, and I haven't watched that yet.
It is excellent Vince Vaughniness. It is, I mean, if you like Vince Vaughn, he does the Vince Vaughn thing.
Yeah.
Just how you want. But also it's from a Carl Hiaasen book, and he does these great sort of crime drama, police drama type books, usually always based around South Florida somewhere, which is where I'm from. So there was that hook too. So yeah, it's a really good show. Even people who don't have that kind of hook to it, it moves along quickly. It's really interesting. It's good mix of like funny and crime drama.
Yeah. It looked like I saw that little trailer.
Terrible name. Just like you're not pulling anyone in with that name. The name makes total sense when you watch it.
So I have to second Mike's recommendation of Dark Matter. I enjoyed that. And I have to admit, I haven't been watching any other Apple TV Plus shows, not because I don't want to, but because I'm going to be taking a long trip on an airplane for the holidays, and so I'm kind of stacking my shows.
What's the first
all
one
year? Nothing all year? Come on.
What I'm going to be watching is the second season of Silo. Been waiting for that.
Okay.
And then season 4 of Slow Horses.
I was going to say, I know you like that show. I've never seen that.
Yes. Either. I love that show.
You have not watched Slow Horses?
I haven't. I got to watch it.
The wonderful thing about Slow Horses is that the seasons are short.
The seasons are short.
I think they're 6 episodes or 5 episodes each, and they come relatively quickly.
I had started watching season 2 of the of Loot, and then
Loot's all right.
Yeah, and then I kind of forgot about it. And season 2 of the Big Door Prize is I'm kind of been waiting on that.
That's pretty fun too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of these shows. I'm apparently don't watch them TV as I think I do.
So I'm looking forward to those shows in particular. I have to spend 18 hours on an airplane, so twice. So I'm gonna.
So you can watch.
That's like a whole series.
Yes. So that's what I mean.
Well, that's like 3. That's like 3 whole seasons of something.
Yeah. Sure.
I don't know if I'm going to have enough shows. That's the problem I'm worried about. So, have you guys watched any movies on Apple TV Plus? I have not. I have to admit that. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's some from this year. I definitely
I saw the Brad Pitt, George Clooney Wolves one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did see that.
Wolves. It was Wolves.
It's a miss.
Wolves.
It's not Wolves. It's Wolves.
Oh, right. It's Wolves. It was fine. Like, it wasn't great. It was okay. It didn't need to be Pitt and Clooney. Like, it could have been any 2 actors doing that. It was fine.
I think actually that's the only thing that makes it good.
Well, right.
Without Pitt and Clooney, it's a story that doesn't have anything.
But that's what it is. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're the only reason why you would be compelled to watch it. If otherwise, the story isn't really there. The plot is kind of lame.
It's fine.
It's just it's
just
fine.
A vehicle for Pitt and Clooney to just kind of play off each other, and it's fine. It's interesting. I heard that it was they were going to maybe do a sequel, and then they decided like not to. They killed it or whatever.
Yeah, the rumor is that Deadline reported that the director, it was supposed to be released in the theaters, and Apple decided not to, and he was obviously not thrilled with that decision, and that was it. Like, he just pulled out and said, well, if you're not going to support me, I'm not going to support you. And that was that. I don't think it needs another one. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I was about to say that was the right decision. Yeah, it can't be worth what you have to pay them to make this happen. I think it would be a neat, it would be way too expensive with the two of them. This would be a fun series with a different thing each. Like a different
I agree.
problem to get out of every week or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's a fine movie. It's okay.
There's a report, I think it was in Business Insider, that said that Apple was looking to license movies to other services.
Yes, yeah,
I would be curious to see how a movie like that with two really big stars would do on like Netflix or wherever it would end up. Because like we said, it's not bad. No. And, it's certainly better than going to a theater and paying, $15 a ticket and $20 for popcorn to sit in your house and watch it. Like, it's a fine, it was an entertaining hour and a half or 2 hours, however long it was. But ultimately it was forgettable and, not great.
I feel the same way about Argyle, which I also watched this year. I
didn't see that.
It was kind of cheesy and, like, it has a couple little moments, but it's got a lot of moments that are really cheesy. And then a lot of the other stuff Apple's been doing in the movies has been like real, like kind of Oscar bait, like winning Cannes Film Festival award type stuff, like Killers of the Flower Moon and Fancy Dance and stuff like that. Like Blitz, these things they're just not. There's nothing wrong with that, but they do so few movies that they don't have a lot of stuff that's just like for everyone. Like
that Scarlett Johansson one is coming out soon. Fly Me to the Moon.
Yep. Channing Tatum.
That was in the theaters. Channing Tatum. Yeah, that was in the movies for a little bit and did pretty poorly, both critically and box office wise.
Yeah, that's okay. That's the kind of thing that I think like it doesn't have. It can be a B- movie and not. Great and stuff. They just need, if they're going to do movies, more of those a year where it's just, you look at it, you watch it, it's got stars you like, it's fine, it's fun. Doesn't have to win a bunch of Oscars. They need more of that to go along with Napoleon, right?
Yeah.
Killers of the Flower Moon, which was that was early this year. I watched that one. It had come out in theaters. My God. Like, it's not that it was a bad movie. It's just that it was 3 times as long as it needs to be.
Yeah, well, that's.
And I know that nobody can tell Martin.
Thing. Yeah,
nobody can tell Martin Scorsese that he needs to edit, because he's Martin Scorsese. But somebody needs to do that because that was
even
good.
Goodfellas is too long. They're all too long.
Yeah, but that was a really good 2-hour movie that lasted 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it just made me.
Yeah, he did the same thing. I mean, The Irishman on Netflix, same thing. Like,
yes,
it was just way too
People
long.
are so happy to have Scorsese that they'll let him do whatever. And it's like, it's just too prestige-y and nobody's willing to write a bad review and say like, this is too long, but they're too long.
It must have been a dozen times where I sat down and said, all right, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch this. And then I would call it up and I would see running time 3 hours and 30 something minutes. And then I go, you know what? No, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah. You're like, well, I got somewhere to be tomorrow. I can't do this now. Right?
Yeah, like I haven't seen this particular movie, but there are, like, every Scorsese movie, there's bits of action and then there's like draggy parts that are just like a half hour feels like 45 minutes. Yeah. Just the way his dialogue and the way he shoots. But Netflix didn't do another one for Netflix. He didn't do another one for Apple TV. So maybe people are starting to tire of this ultra long form format.
I think it's also very expensive.
It is.
It
was $500,000, I think, for it was 300 something million for Killers of the Flower Moon.
And it didn't do well in theaters, and I think part of that is
the runtime.
Subject matter and stuff like that. Like Scorsese doesn't, on the younger generation, they're not like, ooh, Scorsese, like they don't care. But at that runtime, they can't show it that often. It's not going to turn around. They're not going to put it in 4 different theaters at your movie theater and show it all day long 1 million times. So it's limited how well it can do.
Yep.
Have you?
What's interesting? This isn't Apple TV Plus, but Moana 2 just came out last week, made 200+ million.
Yeah,
that was a series. Yeah, good for them. That was a series that they turned into a movie when what's his name came back as CEO because Iger, because he said like, no, this should be, let's release this in the theaters. So they took 8 half-hour episodes or whatever it was, and condensed it to a movie, released it, and they're going to make $1 billion+. So
nice.
It can work. You just have to know your audience, and you have to nail the execution of it.
I think that makes a lot of sense for musicals anyway. Like I don't think you can sustain 10 episodes of musical whatever. I mean, there's not going to be enough good songs and all that. Just, yeah.
It's a crazy notion that you would take Moana, which was a hugely popular movie, and then throw what is effectively Moana 2 on Disney Plus for a month. Like, what is like? What's the benefit there? Like, that's crazy. Like, at least try in theaters, and they obviously hit pay dirt.
I mean, the quality's got to be there, but apparently it is.
Sure. Yeah. But as long as you got the characters are coming back, it'll be fine. Because, Lin-Manuel Miranda didn't do the music, and people still like it, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. So, what are you looking forward to this coming... I want to say this coming year. We don't know what's all coming out this coming year, but coming up. What are you looking forward to?
So the one thing I'm looking forward to most is Apple... for the World Series of the 2024 World Series that just took place between the Yankees and the Dodgers, they announced before we knew it was the Yankees and the Dodgers that they were going to be producing a documentary of the World Series.
Okay.
And it turned out that it was Aaron Judge versus Shohei Ohtani, so the 2 biggest players on the planet. But there are a ton of little storylines within that. Shohei gets hurt. Judge goes like 0 for the series. There's Soto wherever he ends up. There's that game 5 where they made 8 zillion errors and cost them the game. So it could be like with Apple's production, with their cameras and with their, the way they present their Friday Night Baseball. I'm super excited to see how they put this thing together, because it was a quick series and it was a lopsided series, but it was one of the most interesting World Series I've seen in a long time.
So they've announced they're doing this, but there's no like release date.
No, I assume sometime when the season starts for next year. I assume they haven't announced when it's coming out.
Yeah,
my guess is April or May of 2025, because it's just a documentary. So the footage is there. Like it's not that hard to put together.
Yeah, and it's not going to be 10 hours of stuff.
No, I doubt it. Maybe 2 episodes. Might be maybe just a movie, like an hour and a half. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be that, and it might be one of those documentary series where it's 4 episodes.
Right. It could be like one episode per game or something.
I don't have a particular show I'm looking forward to. I'm more looking forward back to marketing. I'm more looking forward to as to what's panning out in terms of all these rumors with the Ted Lasso follow-up series that's coming out.
Yeah.
Because there are all these rumors.
Nobody really knows.
A lot of rumors.
Yeah, there are a lot of rumors, but no one really knows, and everyone who's involved, they're really being quiet about it.
Yep.
But it seems to be happening.
And is it another season? Is it a spinoff? There's a lot of people.
Is Ted Lasso even going to be in it? It's
yeah.
So.
Or is it multiple things? Is there another season of Ted Lasso, but also a spinoff on the? They keyed off several things that could be spinoff shows.
Right.
At the end of Ted Lasso. They talked about the women's team and stuff like that. Like that could be a whole, show. So, I'm interested to find out what happens there, but I'm not convinced. Like, it's not that I don't like Ted Lasso and I wouldn't watch it, but it's not like I know I'm looking. I don't know I'm looking forward to it. I guess what I'm saying. You know?
Right.
I mean, I thought the same thing about Better Call Saul, and that turned out to be one of the greatest shows ever. So, like, if they do it right, like, you can make those side characters super compelling.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. Like, he's the one that held that whole thing together. Like, all the side characters were great because he was so great. So we'll see.
So one of the, speaking of that, there's one of my favorite shows for Apple TV is Mythic Quest. You know, it's a short comedy. It's not going to be like Set the World on Fire, but I love it. And they're doing a spinoff as well. There's a new season coming out in January, so that's one thing I'm looking forward to. But then in March, there's a series called Side Quest. That's kind of an anthology. It's one of those different characters, different stories in every episode kind of things. So curious to see what happens with that. But that they are doing spinoffs happen.
How long's it been since the last Mythic Quest season? A couple of years, right?
Oh, well, this will be season 4.
Right.
So it has been a couple of years, I think. At least 18 months.
Since season 3? Don't think so. Season 3 was late 2022. So yeah, it's been 2 years. Same as Severance, really.
Okay. It feels longer, but okay.
So there's that, and then there's Severance, which, also coming out in the middle of January, which everybody who saw the first Severance is looking forward to. What a great idea. I also heard that was a very expensive show, or at least the sequel is. And some of that is because they kind of had to start things over as they got caught up in COVID and writer strikes and all these other things. But I can't. How do you spend a lot of money on that show? Like,
it takes place in an office.
And not just an office, but like the most deliberately plain office possible. It doesn't have like a lot of special effects or anything. It's got some really, really clever camera work that partly tells the story. And there's some kind of on location filming stuff. But like, it seems like it would be a really cheap show to make. For prestige TV. So they're like, it's $20 million an episode. I'm like, what? Where's that money going?
Maybe they paid the actors more than they did in season 1.
Or maybe some real big things happen. And there's going to be a special effects budget and everything. Like, maybe there's stuff. So.
One more shout out to a show that we overlooked. It's airing now. Is the second season of Shrinking with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, we mentioned it.
Did we?
We mentioned how big that would be on Netflix.
Oh, right. That was in the first part, not in our favorite section part. But it's excellent. Excellent. The cast is brilliant. The writing is fantastic. It's funny. It's quick. It's like the episode. There's like 28 minutes in each episode. It's fantastic. And Harrison Ford is every bit of what you think he is at this age of his life. He's just basically playing himself. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun to see him play a different kind of character.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to call it a different kind of character when it's like grumpy old man is the character. But
it's a different kind of grumpy old man. Yeah.
It's a very different kind of grumpy old man. It seems like he's having fun.
Right.
And everybody in the cast is just the right thing. They have just the right amount of each person's storyline.
Yep. Agreed.
And they have just the right balance between it being funny and heartfelt. Mm-hmm. Like they just found the line, and they've maintained it in this second season. It's really good.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Worth watching.
Well, that does it for this episode of the Macworld Podcast, episode 912. Thanks to Jason Cross.
Thank you.
Thanks to Michael Simon.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks to you, the audience. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to the Macworld Podcast in the podcast app, on Spotify, on YouTube at the Macworld Podcast channel, or through any other podcast app. If you have any comments or questions, send us an email at podcast@macworld.com or contact us through Blue Sky, that's at Macworld, on X, that's at Macworld, or on Threads, that's at Macworld_HQ. or on the Macworld Facebook page. Join us in the next episode of the Macworld Podcast as we talk about the latest in the world of Apple. See you next time.